Welcome. Today we want to talk about what happens after you land the job. We put so much focus into landing it,
Yes.
but there's a whole new host of challenges that come once you want to start the job.
Yes. And it can really deter you from performing well in your job, right?
That's for sure. Actually, when I worked in placement, I had a firm, a New York City area firm that placed MBA moms in part-time jobs. Most of them were returning to work. And our claim to fame was that we had no failed placements until we got one. And the reason she failed wasn't skills, wasn't work product, wasn't effort. It was just that she hadn't done anything to prepare her family. So she just was fulfilling like a full-time caregiving role while working, and she just couldn't get it all done. And it ended up being her family that said, this is too much. And instead of, as you would have told her, setting some clear boundaries, she quit.
Yes.
So,
yeah.
So, cautionary tale.
Yes. So the first thing that you really need to take a look at is your life demands. What are your roles and responsibilities at home, in your house right now? Get out a sheet of paper. It's this basic, right?
Yep,
Get out a sheet of paper and just write down everything that you do. We like to call this the life demands dump.
It's very enlightening. I remember when you and I first started working together, seeing, I thought I kind of had things in balance, but I saw all of the things that I was doing. And as you know, I was chronically tired.
Yes.
Because I hadn't really looked at all of the things I was doing, which leads us to the next step, which is
to sort those life demands. You can't do it all on your own. So taking a look at, okay, what are the things that I want to keep? These are things that I must be the one that execute. I do these things. I don't want to let them go.
It could be because you're the only one. Like if you're a nursing mother, you have to do that. But it could also be that it's one of the things you really enjoy.
Right.
So for me, I really do enjoy cooking. That even though that takes a fair amount of time, that wouldn't be the thing I offload because I enjoy it.
Yeah. Well, or it could be the thing that just sort of sets your mind straight for what is going on. So I know for me, it's really the master calendar in our house. I have to have the main executor of what happens in that calendar, because then it gives me an idea of everything that's going to fall on the to-do list. So you want to think about that. What are the things I want to keep? Then what are the things that I want to delegate? I am going to ask the people on my team, AKA your family support system that you've built for yourself, who can take certain tasks that you're currently responsible for off of your plate.
Right.
And there's a caveat that comes with that. Releasing the responsibility means that that's exactly what you're doing. You are delegating this to someone else. And yes, you may give them some tips, some tricks, but really you have to let them make that their own.
And they may not do it the way you do it, but you have to relinquish that control, because nobody wants to be given a task and then micromanaged while they're doing it.
Yes.
Right?
And or standing in the kitchen as they're executing it and you're rolling your eyes or you're huffing or you're frustrated. It took you a long time to get the fine oiled machine that you have going operating.
Right.
You need to give people around you that time and space to grow into those roles.
I remember one of the things that was really enlightening for me was also learning which things just not to do.
Yeah.
So another sorting bucket is to say, this doesn't need to be done.
Right. Yep.
Right. It's either something that's completely unnecessary that I was doing because I had time.
Yeah.
Or it might be something you're doing as a volunteer.
Yeah. Well, you don't have the room or space for certain things anymore. And that could include any volunteer responsibilities that you currently hold. It could also mean being the one who is the catch-all of everyone else's problems on the phone with all your friends, all your other extended family members. You may have to dial that in and just let everybody know, listen, I'm going back to work and I'm not going to have the time that I once had. And not everybody loves that.
No.
They don't love hearing that.
Yeah.
But they love you. And so those people who are meant to stay in your life will stay in your life as you grow into this new role as a working person. And the last one is to outsource. Outsourcing, I know for me, there were certain things that needed to be done a certain way, and I wanted to hire someone to do those things when I started work. And so you need to determine off of your list of life demands, are there things on there that you are going to hire someone to take on? That could be, maybe it's the cleaning of the house. Maybe it is doing lawn or gardening things, or laundry. Yes. For me, it was laundry. I needed someone to do the laundry for 4 boys. So It's another space that you can rely on as you're thinking about how am I going to be best prepared so that when I get back into work, I'm not going to be have all this other like mental baggage that I'm carrying with me because I'm worried about all of these responsibilities that I have at home.
And for some people, financially, you're not in a position to hire someone to do laundry.
Yep.
But that's where we can work with neighbors and friends to barter. Maybe it's
I don't know anyone else doing my
but not that. That's not a good
yes,
example. Although, I think one of the things that I didn't do enough was rely on my children.
Yeah.
Teenage children should be able to do laundry. So if you are not particular about how your laundry is done, because they may not do it really well to start. But with other jobs, if it's pickup, carpool, or just like childcare or running errands, I know a couple of my young neighbors who are working, they have this little chat they have going on, but they'll say, I'm going to the grocery store, who needs something?
Yes.
Or I'm running to CVS, who needs something?
Yes. I have a group chat of all working moms that kind of have their finger on the pulse of what camp deadlines are coming up.
That's great.
All of those things. So knowing that I can go to that space and I can get that information so I don't miss those deadlines because I'm really busy. I have this whole network of other women who are out there working too that are really looking for those things that are going to support our childcare needs come the summertime, but you got to be ahead of it. Got to be ahead of the game now.
Way too far ahead.
Yeah. So, so the next step would be to call a family meeting or just talk to the people that are in your support system and let them know that you need help. It's actually the act of asking and then the act of receiving. We sometimes can ask, but the actual receiving of the help,
I think, especially if we've been home for a while, we've been the person that's been the go-to.
Yes,
it's hard to relinquish that role.
People want to repay you, though.
I know.
That I think that was one of the biggest eye openers for me when I did my own return to work. I had been a support system for so many people in my life, and people wanted me to succeed. People wanted my business to flourish. They wanted this to go well. They really cared about me. So they rallied behind me and would show up and do things. And I will never forget this. There was one, it was Ben's 3rd birthday and I had to be in Boston and I was going to miss it. And I felt sick about it because I had been there for every other birthday for every other kid. And my friends were so awesome. They were like surrogate moms that day. And without me even asking them, they just knew that it was something that was really bothering me because, of course, my whole ride to Boston, I was commiserating and feeling guilty about the fact that I wasn't going to be there. And they put together this great little birthday surprise for him and made the day probably more special than I would have made it had I been home that day. But I will never forget that because it was part of the asking. It was part of taking the people around me on the journey with me that made it this really wonderful, beautiful thing that made me know that I was supported and taken care of so I could go out into the world and I could do this good work. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's a great story. Never heard that one.
Yes. Yeah. Well, and that goes with filling your bank with what's going well, right? Because don't you often, like when say you pass something off to Bob, it's like so easy to look at, okay, here's what's not going well with this. This is like what's not going well. But it's taking a conscious look at what is going well, especially, and I'm going to tell you where the trick is with this, on the days when everything has gone bad. On those days that you get home from work and the sink is full and things are, completely out of control, or maybe you just had a really terrible day at work. Stopping yourself and instead of defaulting to everything that's going wrong, stop and look at what is going right. You got up this morning, the morning routine went better today.
Everybody got off to where they needed to go. One of the signs I had in my office when I became a manager years ago for the first time was catch me doing something right.
Yes.
And I remember thinking, especially when my kids were younger, how important a message that is to give yourself, because it's so easy to find the things people are doing wrong, especially if you've been gone all day and you come in. It's especially when you're leaving the house and you return to it, that it's hard.
Yes.
And just trying to find that one thing that they did right so the conversation doesn't immediately descend into the negative.
Yes. So the education teaching 2nd grade version of that little sign was, so when I taught 2nd grade, every 2nd grader is in like the thick of tattletaling. They're tattling on everyone around. So I had a standing rule in my classroom that you could only tattle if someone was doing something good. Because it flipped the switch on how we were looking at each other. We were looking at each other in the positive versus the negative. So.
I wish my kids could have had you for second grade.
Well, time has passed.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the last one is just to manage yourself. You have to be easy on yourself. It is a real challenge, especially we get this feedback from our students that have returned to work. The first 2 months are a real roller coaster. And you are on a learning curve. All of you as a collective are on a learning curve, and you need to just give yourself the grace to know that you can go to bed tonight, sleep on it, and tomorrow is a new day.
And allow yourself also, the way you're catching other people doing things right, make sure you catch yourself doing some things right too.
Yes.
Right. So there you have it. How to manage the back to work process once you're there, and how to keep things in check, both personally and with your family. If you like what you heard today, please join our channel and check us out on our website, www.preparetolaunchu.com. We're also on LinkedIn, and we look forward to seeing you next time.